So let's take a look at Hogwarts Legacy HDR settings. I am going to open the game for the first time. So let me make my face smaller here on the screen. And let's see how it looks. I have high expectations for this game, which is always a bad thing, okay? Especially after watching the review from ACG. He said that the combat was good and that the game was difficult. So I like that. I like difficult games. Of course, this is not going to be Dark Souls difficult, but yeah, I am expecting a very nice open world game. Let me lower the volume of the game. Okay, it's going to compile shaders. Oh my god. And it's probably going to do that with a CPU, and the recording might get messed up because of that. But I want to give you my first impressions. So these are the first impressions. I opened the game, it is compiling shaders, which is something great. I like that a lot, because that means that the game is not going to stutter, right? No shader compilation stutter. So this is awesome. I am okay with that. I can wait. I am not hurried. It is going surprisingly fast. I've never seen a game compiling shaders so fast, which is not a good sign. Well, I have a 5800X 3D. So yeah, it's a pretty powerful CPU. Let's take a look at the CPU utilization. Yeah, it is pretty high because right now the temperature is like 78 Celsius. So that's pretty high. So for sure the CPU is being utilized heavy here. So yeah, and it's a stuttering, the game's stuttering like crazy because it's normal, it's compiling shaders. I hope the recording is okay, because I want to give you my first impressions. So after I open the game, then it is not first impressions anymore. And I want to show you how I set up the HDR settings so you can do it yourself. It's very easy, man. You just need to have have the remote in your hands ready to change some settings here. And of course, I'm gonna try to see if the game has sliders to set up the HDIG, or maybe the game supports the HDR calibration app on Windows 11, which I'm not a big fan, because I've seen it would be great if native HDR games are supporting the calibration app. But the problem is, what I've seen is that the games that are supporting the app are not very good HDR games. They are like Auto HDR. Let me lower the... I'm gonna lower the volume of the game. So here what we have is accessibility settings first, which is something good. Let's continue. Oh, I forgot to connect my controller. You never read this stuff. Maybe they are we never read the terms and conditions, and you don't know what you're signing. Okay, I'm going to skip this thing. I will do it later. I pre-ordered the game on Epic Games, so this is like some rewards for pre-ordering the game. Oh, a benchmark. That's very good. But I don't need to do that. It seems like it's a benchmark to test your PC and see what settings there are. Oh! Fantastic! So the game has sliders on HDR. That's awesome, man. And I see that the game supports the system level calibration. Why? Because right away it has the white point at 780, which is what I recommend for games that use for Auto HDR supported games, and for games that support the system level calibration, because in my experience the system level calibration is always pushing more brightness. So if you select here 780, the Game MaxCLL is going to be 797 in my experience. but we always need to double check. So I will take a screenshot and I'm going to have that result in the description of the video. So the settings look pretty good. This looks fantastic. So I'm gonna end the video here. I know the game looks good. So let me see the TV settings that I have. You cannot see this because it is just, the capture is the game capture, what I'm doing. But let me see if I have HDIG right now. Yeah, I have HDIG and no black level setting. Let's see if the game doesn't have the black level race. I cannot see anything wrong with it, but just in case, I am going to assume that the game has the black level race because that is so common. So what I do is I just give it one click to the screen brightness. I just lower that to 49 because I am not using VRR right now because that would mess up the recording. But if you are using VRR, always try first fine-tune dark areas -5. That's what I would recommend you. And if you see black crushing, then go ahead and just leave it to the default position, to 0. Let me lower the volume of the game because I'm not sure if the recording looks too loud, for the volume of the game looks too loud. Okay, so I'm not going to spend time on this. I will do it later. I just want to have a chick that looks like Hermione. That was my imaginary girlfriend from my childhood, Hermione. Such a beautiful kid, lady. She really looked very good on the movies. Okay, yeah, wizard. Start your journey. It needs to have a name. Okay, start a journey. Man, I wanted to use the controller, but let me just take a look at the game.
It appears we are almost ready to depart.
It looks a little bit, I wouldn't say washed out, but it has a grayish look. So I strongly suspect that this game has the black level race. I am not in a dark room, but it's looking suspiciously grayish. Let me lower screen brightness to 46 and see if that looks better. So 46 is like forcing limited for the black level, but we are not affecting the white point. Yeah, that's what it is. The game has the black level race. Screen brightness 46. It's like an Auto HDR game, basically. So for every single Auto HDR supported game, it's the same settings. Fine-tune dark areas -16 or a screen brightness 46. You use one or the other. Never both together, just one or the other setting. So because I'm not using VRR right now, that's the setting, screen brightness 46. So basically this is an Auto HDR game, that's it. They just put sliders on the menu, which is something good, because you have some... Where is the horse of that? Oh, okay, it's like a magic thing. Yeah, so they just put some sliders on the game, which is something good, but this is just an Auto HDR game, basically. So, not sure how good the HDR is gonna be, but at least it's going to be as bright as it should. So, yeah, I don't know the audio, if it's too loud for the game. This is like the first time I opened the game. I haven't checked the recording or anything. So hopefully it is not too loud. Let me lower the volume here so the microphone doesn't pick that up. So I see the game is loading. The performance is trash right now. Okay, it's back to normal. So what I don't like is I haven't been able to access the game graphic settings yet. So I don't know what I'm using here, but I have to say the game looks very clean. I don't have any complaints with the anti-aliasing. The game is looking sharp, and it's not looking overly sharp. It is looking clean, really, very, very clean. So this should be DLSS, 4K DLSS most likely. It is looking very good, I have to say that. Very, very clean. And I don't see clipping on the clouds. It's looking really good, I have to say. I like it a lot. After lowering the black level, which, yeah, that's definitely the settings. Of course, on the recording, you cannot see what I see in front of me, so you're going to see the picture washed out because it has the black level raised. But in front of me, after lowering the black level, it really looks very, very good. Yeah, I like it a lot, to be honest. I was expecting a blurry mess, because that's just what we see right now with, usually with the Unreal Engine games. But this really looks good, man. I like it a lot. I hope the game looks like this, and it is not something like in the cutscenes. It's different graphics. Of course, we always have a higher level of detail for the characters on the cutscenes, but I hope the game actually looks like this, because yeah, it looks clean. The anti-aliasing looks clean, it looks sharp but not overly sharp. It just looks right, and the hair is not like, each individual hair or anything like that, but it looks good enough. It looks good enough. I like it a lot. The skin tone look right. It's just perfect. Those bright highlights, they look pretty good with the HDR. Whoa. Yeah, the performance is dropping like crazy, down to the 50 frames. So if this is DLSS quality, the performance is very demanding. But I'm not sure if it's using any ray tracing or anything like that. So I don't like that the game didn't give me the option to set up the graphic settings before starting to play. It's just terrible. Maybe I didn't see it. I missed that, maybe. We'll change it. It's looking pretty good right now. We're gonna change it. Man, but it looks very, very good, I have to say that. I was not expecting this. I was expecting to tell you, man, this looks like a blurry mess. But so far, I like it. Let's take a look at the grass. Oh, I see color fringing. Why? I don't like that crap. Hopefully we can turn it off. I see color fringing. It's horrible, man. I don't know why they insist on that crap, man. Color fringing. I've never seen color fringing looking good. I don't like it. It's a bad artistic choice. Makes everything look so bad. Maybe it's just right now and it's not everywhere, but I will turn it off for sure. Yeah, so the game definitely has the black level raised. So right now, if I go back to the standard black level setting, I can see right now all the details in the cave. No problem whatsoever. I don't have any issues seeing all the rocks behind the characters. Yeah, absolutely. The game has the black level raised. I raised it to 50, the screen brightness to 50. 100%. Screen brightness 46. Not a doubt on my mind. This is just an Auto HDR game. And that white coming from the outside of the cave is very bright, but I can see details. So I can see probably a sea, like water. Yeah, I can probably see water because it is very bright on my screen, but I can see details behind that. So that is HDR. And that is not usually, so you usually don't see that on Auto HDR games because SDR doesn't have that information. So this might be a good HDR implementation. Well, let me change the settings. Let me take a look at the settings first and see what we are using here. So, whoa. So this was DLSS quality and it was dropping down to 50 frames per second. Not a good spot. So this is 1440p, basically it's dropping down to 50 frames, and this is a 3080 12 gigabytes. That's pretty insane. Pretty insane. We have NVIDIA Reflex. We have let's see, chromatic aberration. Let's turn that off. Depth of field off. Don't like a motion blur. By default on. Film grain off. So all of this is crap, man. Well, hopefully, luckily they give you the option to turn it off. Let's see, where are the advanced settings? Where are the advanced settings? There's no advanced settings? These are display options. Graphic options, okay. Yeah, so everything was in ultra. Everything was in ultra. So let's see, no ray tracing. Wow. So that performance was without ray tracing. Dropping down to 50 frames at 1440p. But I have to say, man, the game looks very, very clean so far. So what I would do here, just to improve things. So usually this fog quality is very demanding. Those volumetric effects are very demanding. So I would lower the fog and the shadow quality for sure. And let's see if that gives me a solid 60. And I would use black frame insertion for sure. So let's see how this is looking. I would like to connect let me connect my controller and see if it works without me having to open any program. Let's see. If I connect the controller, yeah, it is working. That's great. I don't have to go outside. Yeah, so 60 frames per second, 4K. It looks like a blurry mess, sample and hold. So I would need to use black frame insertion here. And it seems like that's the best I'm gonna be able to get on this game, 60 black frame insertion. So yeah, you see right now, I can clearly see that there is water, there's a sea behind the cave, and this is very bright. So this might be a good HDR game. So this might not be like Auto HDR, like just SDR quality, because usually on SDR, the way they go around to show you details is by changing the exposure very heavily. And I see that very clear on games like Uncharted. When you use HDR, you can clearly see what's behind. Like something like this, like a cave, you can see what's behind. But if you are on SDR, when you go outside the cave, you see a transition where they are changing the exposure just to be able to show you the different bright and dark objects. So the performance is very demanding, but man, the game looks good. I have to say that it doesn't look blurry. It looks good. It's just a blurry mess right now when the camera is panning because I'm just sample and hold 4K 60, which is not good enough. But I like the presentation a lot, man. I have to say. I still see like a blurriness on the horizon, like color fringing or something. But yeah, I like it, man. I like how it's looking. So we have some Uncharted vibes here. So we're doing some escalation stuff. Yeah, water's looking pretty nice. I was looking on the reviews and on the let's see, on the previews and all of that. It was looking washed out. The whites were looking washed out to me. Maybe on SDR, but on HDR this is looking very nice. I can see all the details on the clouds. Not a lot of details. Is looking, the clouds are not looking very good. The clouds are looking like noisy, like not a lot of volumetric resolution on the clouds. It's looking noisy and grainy. Yeah, but we're just playing the game. We're not supposed to stare at the clouds, and the rest of the game does look very, very good. But the clouds are not looking fantastic, to be honest. But the HDR is good. It might be clipping a little bit, so I might take some screenshots and see if the Game MaxCLL is actually 797 as it should be with that setting that we have. But yeah, the black level, I can tell you 100% confirm. Lower screen brightness to 46, it is perfect. That's just what it is, 100%. I've seen this a million times. I can tell you for sure. I don't even need to play a lot the game. It is obvious. But yeah, I like how the game looks a lot, man. I like it a lot. So I'm probably gonna be playing the game. So I cannot listen to what this guy is saying. So I want to stop the game here. I might do like a gameplay video later on, because I don't want to make this video too long, because then it's gonna take forever to upload the game, and I cannot even listen to what this guy is saying to play the game. So I'm going to stop the video here, and I'm gonna do a follow-up with some gameplay and showcasing better the graphics and talk about my recommended settings. I'm gonna play around and see what's gonna be the best option. 60 OLED Motion Pro High, HDR, the SDR HDR trick to get the brightness. For a black frame insertion, maybe I can get 100 frames, tweaking the settings. So if I can get 100 frames for black frame insertion, that would be fantastic, because the game looks really, really good. And one thing that I like before I end the video, and I see here, is that the DLSS is not changing the sharpening. So one ugly effect of DLSS sometimes, and this happens with very blurry TAA games, so it has to do with TAA in my opinion. And I know when you use DLSS, TAA is override and all of that, but I think it's still behind it. So what I see sometimes with DLSS is that you have a static image, but when you move the camera, it blurs. It changes to sharp. So basically it is blurry. When you move the camera, it gets sharper with DLSS, or the opposite. It is sharp when it is static, and then when you move the camera, it's blurry. So there is a difference between the static picture and the moving picture in terms of the sharpness, and I've seen that happening with DLSS. That is not happening here, and that is fantastic. I absolutely love how the game looks in terms of the sharpness. Very, very nice so far. So I will do a follow-up video and saying 4K HDR, and I'm gonna end the video here so it's not too long. Okay.